All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Want to kick off this session here. We're going to be speaking to two fine gentlemen about enhancing revenue and the experience with Tekion from the service experience. To my left here, I have Joe Castelino representing the American Automotive Group, and I have Steven Jarrell here representing the Walt Massey organization. Both these fine gentlemen have been using Tekion, and so we wanted to kind of unpack the conversation and learn a little about how are they using Tekion, what are some of the benefits that they've gained. Both of them have some fantastic, interesting stories between how they've been able to use this platform. And so, Steven, we thought we'd start with you. Tell us about yourself, what you're doing at Walt Massey, the organization location, so folks have a good understanding of where you guys are located.
So we're a 7-store group across southern Mississippi, south of Jackson. Made the move to Tekion, I think, probably 3.5 years ago. Was some of the things we've been able to get with Tekion in the partnership was the ability to onboard our team members and, ability to onboard our team members with younger team members and team members that are, forward thinking, that aren't the, I think I was talking earlier to Pedram, and I think the best quote that we had was, you don't take a PhD to be in a management role with Tekion. The system's so intuitive, and the system allows our team members to kind of just understand how the process flow works, understand that this is what step comes next, as opposed to having to remember Control R or whatever those things are.
No, you nailed it. And it's funny, yesterday Jay found out what a PhD is in car dealership terminology. So I thought that was kind of interesting, right? And so, yes, there's definitely an element of not actually needing a PhD to be able to run with Tekion. And that's really outstanding. Steven, we talked about that, the fundamentals of how we hire in the business has always been with capacity first. We need these folks who have had decades of experience, whether it's in the actual business itself or maybe it's been in the application. I mean, we see it all the time, right? Job applications that finish with must have CDK, must have rentals, right? And it's really just because of the fact that we know onboarding an employee is very difficult. So we noticed that what a lot of the feedback we get is that you're able to hire a different type of character. How have you been able to leverage a new type of character, and what's been the onboarding experience with new employees that come into your organization?
So we've always had the vision of growing our own and bringing people into the group at a young age and growing. But the reality of it was, before the move to Tekion, it was not real. I think David Spizak said it earlier when he was talking about the tech stack and having to know so many different tools and being able to log into this, how to operate this system, and this system. And now, we are living, breathing proof that our team is the youngest probably in the state of Mississippi. We got most of our GMs are 25 and younger. Sales managers are very young. And I think for me, the coming from service and parts side, the biggest benefit that I've seen is the ability to hire an advisor, put a phone in their hand, and within 2 weeks, they're operational. Prior to that, we hired advisors and really had to think about what extra person we're going to put with that advisor and make sure that somebody's with them for 2-3 months to make sure they can handle the DMS.
No, we've joked about that actually, and not only that's incredible that you see that we could potentially hand the phone over to a customer and have them check themselves in with the repair order. That's unheard of, right? You imagine anybody here on your existing TMS that if you asked your customer to check themselves in with repair orders, that would be hilarious. We couldn't get people to do it after a week of training, inside the dealership, let alone handing that technology over. So that's incredible. And I understand, some of the efficiency gains from what you've seen in using the system. Are there some things that stand out, that whether it's capital reduction, staff reduction, what are some things that you've seen that have really helped the organization?
Yeah, so I think both capital and staff reduction has been a big boost for us, but I think that the real capital becomes, how do you train someone to do their job? And I think that's probably our biggest investment, at most dealers, is how do you get that advisor to the point that they can be self-sufficient? Now, we did, when we first signed up, we moved away from a cashier. The system allows us to not only cashier at the desk, but it's an experience that if you're really not cashiering at the desk, you're killing the experience for the customer. The experience is far greater when your staff cashiers at the desk. We're a Tekion Pay dealer as well, so we use their payment tool. My accounting team by far loves it. You know, we run the card, it posts the transaction in accounting. All they have to do is verify and post a statement. So, you know, we moved away from cashiers. It gives my advisors a little bit more time with the customer, and it gives the customer a much better experience for my advisor.
No, I love that. You know, and the fact that you're using the word experience, right? Because today I think that's what consumers are shopping for. Whether it's sales or service, it's about experience. And with brand loyalty being at an all-time low, we hear this time and time again. People are choosing to do business with one brand over another because of the experience that's affected to it. And I think that the cashiering one is a really relevant point, right? And we understand certainly there's a need when there's no technology, but when you're enabling technology and you can really empower these individuals, why not enable the advisor to completely close the loop all the way around? So
it's easy to do business with, right? I've got more execs bringing me their BMWs, their Audis, their Porsches. I even got a couple bringing me their Ferraris because it's just easy to do business. They can see what's going on with their car live. It's not a pain in the butt to do business with. It is, they're sending their daughter or their kid or their nanny to come pick up the car for them or for somebody. It just makes it easy to do business with, and that experience that they're getting really drives. I don't know. It's an experience. It just makes it easy to do business. I'm speaking to that same thing.
I think talking about the experience is a full holistic experience too. The guest gets an opportunity to schedule an appointment online, and then when they're in the store, it's the same experience. And I think on the sales side, how do we make that in-store experience look like the same experience online? And I think Tekion with number one, the ability to schedule online. When they get there, it looks like what they saw online. And then number two, on the sales side, the ability for that transaction to look the same either online or in store.
That continuity you're talking about is priceless, right? You're talking about going straight from the consumer portal to the online or to the in-store experience to here I am with RFIDs, right? So you make your appointment, you're coming through, you're seeing the RFIDs, okay, hey, they're expecting me. The notifications of everything. It's just one seamless platform, and that continuity it's amazing.
No, I think continuity is definitely something we hear, and really the connector to this is how we use the data, Faed, because a lot of people, of course, beyond from, measuring the customer experience aspect, we want to close the loop. I think in a lot of the things that we see, certainly there are tools out here that are stellar tools, but the fragmented ecosystem that this creates makes it very difficult for people to really understand their business better. So I know that, both of you obviously love the reporting side and the analytics side of the business, but that's great, Stephen. I think some of the things that really stood out to us working with your organization was being able to really find a new set of talent pool that has enabled you to deliver customer experience, because technology by itself is fantastic, right? But at the end of the day, customer experience is delivered by people, right? And if you don't have the right people, it's certainly a very difficult thing to deliver on.
That's right. And we've done, Walt started the organization focusing on people, and really until we found a partner with Tekion, it was hard to bring that person up through the organization without having, great experience. And, they had to really, we looked for people who could operate our DMS as opposed to looking for people that were just the right person for the organization.
Oh, that's awesome.
Do you remember how hard it was to disqualify somebody because they didn't have the right DMS experience? Do you remember those days?
You would comb through applications and resumes, and first place I started going was to the bottom. What DMS have you been on? Or that was one of my top 3 questions. And now it doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about a young man or young lady that really has no retail experience. They can get in Tekion and function almost immediately.
No, I think that's outstanding. And I think that we really kind of think that that's an important message because, look, age agnostic, certainly young and old, we really want to make sure that, that we dispel this message of that technology is just for the young. Technology is for everybody, right? It should be able to be used by anyone, whoever has the ability. And listen, for the same way that nobody's ever been given a manual to operate their iPhone, should be the same way that why should we have secret functionalities in writing and closing repair orders?
So we just went through a buy sell and we acquired a Cadillac and Chevrolet store. And some of their senior advisors were really apprehensive because during the buy sell, we switched straight over to Tekion. And, coming from a store that's been on one DMS for 30 years, these guys are like, well, how am I going to do this? This is this. Then instantly are apprehensive about the whole transition. 7 days later, you talk to the guys and they're like, oh, this is easy. This is this. This is that. You're like, this is great. It's a fun thing to see their eyes light up when you ask them 7 days after the initial shock of how easy it was and why they were so apprehensive.
Yeah. So I've got a little bit of an opposite story, but it's down the same line. We sold 2 of our stores back in August and still stay in contact with our service and parts director there. In the story he tells after, the new organization went to a different DMS, and he tells me the first day that they're open for business and the advisor prints a repair order and turns around and goes, well, what do I do with this? And she was a young lady that we brought on with us, had no automotive experience, had only written on the Tekion tool, and just she struggled for 2 or 3 weeks on what do I do next.
No, that's incredible. And, when you and I were talking, because I want to switch gears a little bit from the personas, advisors certainly are customer facing, but we have technicians too. What kind of efficiencies, what's been the experience in your organization with your technicians?
So as Joe said early on, I think the struggle always is how do you keep your technicians happy? Anything new, as we know, is a struggle for most tech. But for us, 3-4 days in, when they saw that they had the ability to not stand at the parts counter, they didn't have to go stand up front with the advisor because they can put in a PA, they can put in a request for a part, the parts department can fill it, build the quote, customer can be contacted while they're still in their stall working. And we've got guys that have been with the organization 30 years that would have it no other way. I think a gentleman that was at one of my Chevy stores told us that this is the greatest tool he's ever used.
That's awesome. I think that's what it's about, right? Empowering your teams, making sure that these individuals are efficient. And so that's outstanding. And thanks for being an amazing partner with us, Steve.
So one of our Toyota stores actually uses the product for parts delivery, right? So the guys are not only, they're staying in their bays, great, work's getting dispatched electronically, that whole bit, but now our parts department is running parts to the technicians. These guys are staying in their bays and they just hit a little flag and say, I'm ready for my parts. And we have a little go-kart that drives up with the parts delivery system and a guy that checks off, I delivered my parts to Pedram, to John, to Steve, to whoever. The efficiency reduction, or the efficiency improvement, phenomenal, through the roof.
Now that's awesome. So, Joe, you've had a very interesting experience with Tekion from the start, and you've been the efficiency machine from the gate. So I'm sure everybody's really interested. Tell folks a little bit about your background and the experience, of course, and the efficiency gains that you've seen.
I started off at our VW store at DSE, or it was DSE back in the days. We've been on Tekion since 2018, and we kept looking for efficiency improvements, right? So it's one day, well, if I could have a piece of paper print remotely and have it signed, why do I even need to have it print? You don't. And at very early stages, I think we weren't even that advanced in the sense that we just moved our dispatch printer or our printer into the dispatch booth, right? And that's how we started. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, if I'm printing remotely and my dispatcher is just physically stapling tickets, why do I need to do that? Well, you don't need that. And it just evolved into this massive undertaking where we became paperless. We were able to reduce unapplied time, I believe, by 97% in one store. which all of a sudden we had, during that tech shortage, that helped out. We were able to pick up 120 hours of productive work out of that store. It's been an interesting transformation to a full digital process, right? Where, we don't have cashiers. We don't have any paper being printed. We literally have 2 printers in the entire department. One that's communal and then one in my office just because I'm lazy and I don't want to walk 10 feet. But
Joe's got a really interesting, I happen to be in Northern California. One of his stores is in Northern California, the Stevens Creek VW location. And I have to commend you. You have one of the busiest, quietest service drives I've ever been to. To tell them why do I think that it's the busiest, quietest service drive. You have no idea the number of ROs that are running through this place because the efficiencies in the systems, and he's almost taught his customers how to essentially, in one realm or another, they don't even have to communicate with everyone, and they're just doing business with you.
Yeah, it's great. So they're texting, they're communicating, like they were used to this massive line of like cars lined up on the drive, and now all that chaos is in the back. And yeah, well, it's still just as busy, if not busier. It's just controlled chaos, right? You're not running around with pieces of paper, and you're not running around with like, oh my God, where's this guy? Everything is so, it's just a continuous cycle that I can log in from wherever I'm at and see what's going on here. And if I need to walk 10 feet, log in and see what's going on there. And everybody's got this full transparency. So it just makes it easy to do business. You actually have to come down because our Toyota store in Northern California is the one I'm talking about that's doing the parts delivery. And so the challenge I have right now is how do you improve efficiency on top of efficiency, right? So now we have to look at other departments, hence parts. We're like, okay, let's see what we can do here to tweak this to improve our unapplied time.
No, I love it, man. And I think you're going to continue to inspire everybody to figure out how to just cut one process, system, tool. I mean, at one point, I think it's just going to the entire shop's going to look like an Apple experience, right?
That's the goal.
I'm telling you, it is the coolest thing to see because all of us traditionally equate a service drive with a bunch of cars backed up all the way to the sidewalk as a busy day in service. And we all know that doesn't necessarily equate to success. And so when I told him, I said, Joe, I happened to just be walking through. I said, man, I think tough day in service. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, it doesn't look like there's much going on. He's like, no, we're having like the second best day of the year. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because, oh no, you just don't feel it. And I think that it compounds to so many other things because beyond customer experience, I don't think any one of your team members today are like, I can't wait to get to work and get yelled at. Right? These are not things that are at the top of the desire pool of what, even your employees are looking for. So when we talk about creating that kind of effortless, seamless system, it's just next level. And it's really cool to see that at your store.
And it transcends to that experience that we were talking about earlier, right? Like it's not chaotic, right? Like customers go into dealers that I'm waiting to take a number, I'm waiting to talk to somebody, and your frustration is just being pent up, right? Like we're in the heart of Silicon Valley. Time is money there, right? And it's not time is money anywhere else, but you feel it there, right? And so when you have somebody just sitting and waiting and, okay, is Steve going to talk to me? Is he not? Is he going to talk to me? Is it my turn? Is it my turn? Is it my turn? There's all this pent up anxiety where right now that it's not there. It's cool. Here it is. Here's this experience. I could do this digitally and it's fast. It's seamless.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And I think customer experience is the buzzword, customer experience. You go to any meeting, but really when you think about customer experience, first thing you got to think about is it easy for my staff to deliver a customer experience? And when you get those efficiencies, it does become easy for your staff to deliver that experience. Prior when it takes them 15 minutes to write a repair order, there's no way they can deliver a great customer experience. But now they have the tools that they can deliver a great customer experience.
I mean, remember when people are asking them questions and they had to fumble through stuff, right? And like, let me get the data, right? It's not like that. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. And listen, time is money in Mississippi too, right? Certainly, time is money is across the U.S. So to shift gears a little bit, Joe, you're also really starting to focus on your internal operations.
Yes.
How are you leveraging Tekion, and what have you done recently to improve the efficiency gains inside internals?
Our used car managers actually write up the ticket in Tekion. When they're standing in front of the car, they take the photos and they actually decide, what are we going to do? Are we going to smog this car? Are we going to wholesale this car? What type of inspection I want? Am I going to certify this car? They write the ticket up themselves. It's very simple to do. Goes through our entire process, right? It gets dispatched just the same way. We have an internal writer. He'll start building the P&As. But where this is great is it's this full transparency even internally, right? Like, so our used car managers might be at an auction and they're looking at, oh, hey, I remember that Toyota I bought. Yep, I need to do this. Yes, I need to do that. No, I don't want to do those tires. The MPIs are all filled out. And it builds this transparency. Now, we live by the sword, die by the sword. Obviously, we miss something, right? And the used car manager is always like, well, hey, you didn't tell me that. I've got the proof, 100%. But at the same time, when it comes to, hey, you didn't approve this, oil leak or this battery, and now here we are 2 months later, we're putting a battery in it. This isn't us. And it's great. It builds that transparency. Our used car managers like it. It's sped up the recon process, because you're not, think of what you're doing now. We're sitting here talking. If you got a text, as soon as you've done it, would be really simple for you to take a look and approve it.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And we've actually had some really interesting feedback because when you go through the MPVI process and you hit decline, it shows up in deferred services. And I can't tell you how many dealers, they get to see their own department and go, hey, what's going on? Why did we decline all this work? What's been your experience of watching the deferred services through there?
It's interesting to see because then you have the general manager saying, well, to the used car manager, am I not putting out a quality product or what are we doing here? And why aren't the two teams or two departments able to unite and figure things out? It only takes a handful of times to have that conversation, if that, before it ends, and you'll see profitability through.
Yeah, and I want to really kind of emphasize one thing. I think, look, we've all used reporting as a accountability stick, right? And boy, it's probably a bat for some people, right? So stick or bat, you pick. But at the end of the day, I do think that empowering people with better decisions, creating a more seamless workflow for them, and incentivizing them, right? So that they actually can connect the dots and see, when I'm all this deferred work, how does it kind of come back later? And the continuity of this information. We were talking about, you put out a used car, and that vehicle goes through and it gets underserviced. The fact that you guys have the data to be able to sit directly with, the used car manager, general manager, and know the source of your customer service could be coming from the fact that we underserviced the vehicle. So we can remotivate people to say, listen, we know the connector to this. We underservice the car, it's going to become a problem. But again, it's in a closed ecosystem.
True. You can also do some things that we do is we can go back and market to that stuff with deferred services, right? When you start running deferred services and you start looking at trend analysis, as you can just see, okay, hey, in our used car world, tires are getting declined constantly. Why? And we look at pricing, we look at structure, we look at cost. Availability is a big thing. And that's something that came out of one of our Toyota stores. It wasn't that the price of the tires, it was the availability of the tires, that the used car manager needs the car out there. And if we can't get the tires out within a day or two, it's a problem. So what did we do? We started stocking more tires. We took that data and started stocking more tires.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think it's a really good segue to kind of the final part of our segment here. Yesterday I had an opportunity to have a discussion with our director of machine learning, and machine learning has always been a bit of a mystery box for people, right? AI has been a bit of a mystery box for people. What's been your experience so far in leveraging some of the machine learning automations in regards to your marketing?
So the AI, ML are probably my two favorite components of Tekion. You're able to just look at so much raw data. You're able to see what's going on. So our VW stores had the ML, the AI for, 4 years now, 3 years, something like that. And sure, it's a slow start. It's building up its learning, but now we're seeing an additional $10,000 in total revenue out of that store on average. The stores that have just started, 6 months ago on Tekion, 5,000, 6,000 already. So I'm anxious to see that, or where those numbers end. Actually, the product engineer of machine learning just released the beta program of machine learning analytics, which really, really dials into the core of what's happening in the analytics of the machine learning, of the AI, of this is how many people are liking this product, right? And I just saw the beta on Monday, and already I'm thinking, wow, so many people liked roof racks. We don't have any special on roof racks. Why don't we grab this data and market to these people, or WeatherTech floor mats or something of that nature, right? Like, you're seeing this stuff, and it was eye-opening, right? We're able to see that our BDC agents that are having their own AI technology that's saying, hey, you should offer this customer this, if they're using it or not. That's really important analytics, because if they're not, we have to find out why.
No, I mean, that's huge, right? And I mean, very early on, when we were talking about the machine learning experience, we all, referenced Amazon. And we said, well, how does Amazon do it to us, right? We buy a keyboard, Amazon seamlessly at the bottom, what does it do? Puts a microphone and a keyboard stand at the bottom. We'll go, yeah, I'd like to do that. Sure, if I buy the keyboard, I'm buying the microphone, and I'm going to buy the keyboard stand, right? Nobody pitched us. Nobody sold us, right? Somebody didn't pop up in a widget in the corner. And I think that, to your point, Joe, the machine learning technology is definitely something incredible. And it takes time, certainly, as it digests data and ingests data. But the future ability to just seamlessly create, we throw that around, $5,000 to $10,000 in revenue in a market that we know, look, it's been incredible the last 10, 12 years, right? Last 2 years, some of the financial statements didn't even have room for some of the numbers, right? Because I didn't think it was ever going to get to that level. But to seamlessly add 5 to 10, you annualize that $60,000, $70,000 in sales in a store by literally just clicking a couple of buttons. I mean, I think that's incredible.
I'll tell you, to me, what was even more incredible are the services that the AI is offering that we would never even offer, right? So California, we have smog checks. The AI was recommending a smog check. Now, we're not a big, hey, we want to do smog checks, but when you look at the take rate of it, you're shocked. I was shocked, right? Like, the closing ratio of the AI technology on oil changes is 56%. I was just looking at that stat on Monday with the product engineer. I mean, mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing stuff.
No, I think that's incredible. And listen, I think to recap, it's been an absolute pleasure having both of you guys continue to drive the innovation and partnership with Tekion. So would like to tremendously thank you for both for that. And I think, Stephen, there's some really incredible stories that you shared, right? That how you've really been able to find a new type of character. And I like what you said. You no longer have to look at the bottom and be like, where has this person been on DMS experience? How much experience they have. And I think that confidence of you being able to hire the right person for the role that you believe is going to drive customer experience, I think is profound.
Yeah, absolutely. Our software and our tools doesn't define what we do anymore. And echo what you said back to you is I think the partnership with you guys has been amazing, because you guys are doing exactly what we're trying to do and hiring good people. So thank you guys for the relationship. It's been amazing so far, and I can't wait for the future.
Thank you, Stephen. And Joe, same with you, man. I can't wait. I mean, at one point, I don't really know the efficiency that you're going to create. I'm just excited to see what you come up with next.
That makes two of us.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you both for the experience, the partnership, and the opportunities. And hopefully we were able to educate you directly from folks who get to use the product on a day in, day out basis. And really excited for what's ahead. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Joe, thank you.